Arielle, I'm constantly overextended on too many projects for too long. Do you have a tip that can help me out here?
Maybe. Today's tip is about sunk cost fallacy and how it can ruin a lot of things and opportunities. So for me, for example, I travel a lot, I go on vacation a lot, and I work, out of town a lot, and I still pay for rent in this New York City apartment. And so I'm constantly thinking, gosh, am I wasting my money on, all of this rent? Like I should be trying to sublet it. I should be trying to give it, have somebody stay in it so that I can at least feel like it's being used. I think this also factors into other things. Like I have a bunch of plants and I've had them for 3 years and they're dying. And just because they're dying now, 3 years in, doesn't mean that the 3 years that I spent with them were not worth it. Does this make sense? Like I could, it's sad that I have to throw them out eventually. I feel bad, but that it's not a sunk cost. I still got something out of it. Thoughts, prayers?
Yeah, I think about this a lot when it comes to personal projects. A lot of people commit to a personal project and they keep committing to it because they feel like if they move on to the next project, then the time they put into the old one was a waste of time. And that's not true. It's not true in the slightest. You get better at certain things. You learn a lot. You apply it to your next project. We are not meant to get locked into one course of action for the rest of our days. I'm a big believer in that the sunk cost fallacy is totally real, and people should pay less attention to what they've put into something when deciding what they're going to do next.
And that's the tip of the day. Don't limit yourself by the sunk cost fallacy. Instead, sink yourself into good times. They say if you like something, you should buy multiple of them, huh?
Yeah, sure.
That's the intro for this.
That's a good intro.
Today's tip.
I'll take it from here, Arielle.
Go ahead.
Today's tip's pretty simple. If you have a household tool that you end up using a lot on very specific things, I'm talking like a specific sized Allen wrench, buy multiple copies of it and keep it in the places that you use it. So for instance, my microphone has been dipping because the arm that it's on needs to be Allen wrench tightened. That Allen wrench tightens 5 things in my apartment, and therefore it constantly gets moved around. And so it's not on my desk right now, and so I haven't been able to tighten it. And if my microphone falls out of frame, now you know why. If I just had a second Allen wrench that lived on my desk all the time, then I would never have this problem. So for small tools or things you use a lot but in different places around your home or life, just consider having multiple copies in those multiple places. It's sort of like having multiple house keys on different sets of keychains. Just having the ability to use the tool you need in the place you need it by having multiple copies around your house. That's the tip of the day.
And like I said, when you love something, buy it twice. Do we still feel that way?
Yeah, but then my brain goes down the rabbit hole of implications of the statement. I love my wife dearly. I don't think I could buy a second Jenny.
You never know. AI is coming.
Oh, bummer. See you tomorrow.
Catrin, as an American living in Italy, you had to do a lot of socializing, a lot of networking, a lot of things outside of your comfort zone. So today's tip is all about that. Tell us what is the tip of the day on February 26th, 2025.
Go to networking events alone. As you mentioned, I'm an American living in Italy. I moved here a little over 2 years ago, and I had to rebuild my professional network here in Italy. Or I shouldn't say rebuild to it, but yes, add to it, especially in this market. And I didn't know anyone. So I, by consequence, was going to networking events alone. And through this experience, realized how much more you get out of going to these events alone because you don't hide behind just going with a friend or a colleague. You leave yourself open to meeting many more people, and you leave yourself much more approachable for others to come and introduce themselves to you. So I have expanded my network, made plenty of friends by going to networking events alone, and I couldn't recommend it more.
Huge fan of this in the US, in Italy, anywhere around the world. It might seem tough at first, but my tip, and I think I've said this before on Daily Tips that may or not help you, that relates to this, is that you feel more awkward than anybody else thinks you feel, or everybody feels awkward, essentially, is what I'm trying to say at a networking event. So just embrace it. I know it's hard, but
So true.
we'll all get there together. This is Daily Tips that may or may not help you. And this is the last Wednesday of February. So Catrin Skaperdas, you were our guest tipper of the month. Thank you so much for all of your contributions. And we can't wait to check out your podcast, Italian for Sure.
Thanks for having me on.
Arielle, sometimes we just need a little help from our friends. Give us a tip for that.
Cheese ball. You know when you're driving and there's a truck in front of you and the truck says, "How am I driving?" And then there's a phone number and you can call and give feedback.
Have you ever called that number?
I've never, but I do like the sentiment there that these truck drivers are asking for feedback. I think it's nice, and I think more of us need to be asking for feedback, not just at our jobs, but also within our friendships, within our romantic relationships, within our parental relationships. Anyway, I just think we should be asking for feedback. It doesn't have to be like, "Hello, can you please grade me on how I am in this relationship?" But it can be like, "Hey, how can I be a better friend to you?" I think we, as a species, it's hard to take feedback, but I think if we normalize asking for it more often, it'll hurt less when we do get feedback. And I think that this can be a really fruitful thing, and I'm curious what'll come of it if you try it out, Tippendales. Ned, have you ever asked for feedback when you did not need to ask for feedback?
Yeah, I like to have a progressive cycle of feedback with creative partners and things like that, just to keep a sense on how things are going and any problems that have arisen. Your point earlier made me think of a slight non sequitur, but I do think it's funny. Do you remember those old iPod attachments that let you put your iPod out through like an FM radio channel so that you could like listen to it in the car before there was good CarPlay or adapters or things like that? I had a bumper sticker made that said, "What am I listening to right now? Tune your radio to like 91.3
That's cool.
or whatever." So anyone driving by could hear what my localized radio from my iPod was. And that's what I was thinking about when you brought up the feedback bumper sticker.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
I
great.
miss those days.
2 non sequiturs for one low price at Daily Tips that may or may not help you.
Hey, tomorrow's Friday, and then it's the weekend. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Ned, you have a tip about apple picking, you said?
Sure. Yeah, apple picking. Specifically picking the apps on your Apple home screen. It's an iOS tip, Tippendales.
Ding. There should be some sort of like, it's an iOS tip. Boom. Yeah.
Do you all customize your home screens? If not, you should. You should put apps in folders. You should use widgets so that you can quickly access information on your home screen. Whether it's the reminders app so you can see your upcoming to-dos, your calendar app so you can see your next meeting, things like that. But inside the Apple widget section, there is a thing called a stack. And a stack lets you put a bunch of widgets in one box that you can swipe through. So I have my calendar and my to-dos and upcoming emails I need to deal with in one stack that's on my little like work section of my home screen, and I swipe for it. I will be putting a video of it like roughly here, I think. So I'll be able to show you what that looks like. But create a widget stack and then put all the widgets related to one theme in it, and you can have a very organized home screen that gives you all the information you need right at the swipe of a finger.
That's the tip of the day.
That's the tip of the day.
And we'll be back next week with more tips that may or may not help you. This is Daily Tips that may or may not help you. And this is Arielle and Ned. And this is Arielle and Ned. Bye.
It'll also be next month.
Oh.